teaching me how to climb. And though my heart may break, I know it's not in vain. I need only to be still. When my world keeps on shaking and I'm breaking, when the skies won't stop raining and I'm fading, help me to be okay with what I can't change. And remind me there's meaning in the waiting. Tell me to be patient. Tell me to be patient. Tell me to be patient.
Sometimes on this journey, get lost in my mistakes. What looks to me like weakness is a canvas for your strength. My story isn't over, my story's just begun. Yeah, failure won't define me, 'cause that's what my Father does. Yeah, failure won't define me, 'cause that's what my Father does. Ooh, lay your burdens down. Ooh, here in the Father's house. Check your shame at the door, 'cause it ain't welcome anymore. Ooh, you're in the Father's house. Rival's not the end game, the journey's where you are. You never wanted perfect, you just wanted my heart. And the story isn't over if the story isn't good. And failure's never final when the Father's in the room. Failure's never final when the Father's in the room. Lay your burdens down. Here in the Father's house. Check your shame at the door, 'cause it ain't welcome anymore. You're in the Father's house. Prodigals come home, the helpless find hope. Love's on the move when the Father's in the room. Prison doors swing wide, the dead come to life. Love's on the move when the Father's in the room. Miracles take place, the cynical find faith. Love is breaking through when the Father's in the room. The Jericho walls are quaking, strongholds now are shaking. Love is breaking through when the Father's in the room. Said love is breaking through when the Father's in the room. Ooh, lay your burdens down. Here in the Father's house. Check your shame at the door, 'cause it ain't welcome anymore. Ooh, you're in the Father's house. Lay your burdens down. Ooh, here in the Father's house. Check your shame at the door, 'cause it ain't welcome anymore. Ooh, you're in the Father's house.
Welcome, guys. Who's happy it's spring? Finally. I hate the cold. I'm so happy. Well, I'm glad you're here tonight. We have 2 weeks left of this series that we're currently in, talking about 7 deadly sins. If you're new here tonight, if a friend brought you, maybe you're wondering what the heck is the Way. Well, the Way is a gathering of 18 to 25-year-olds who are seeking truth, seeking God through the Word, through fellowship, through worship, and we're just here to have a good time. So I'm glad you're here. If you are here for the first time, whip out your handy-dandy smartphone and text WASTER to 97000. This will add you to a text chain, and we send out updates every week about meeting times, where we're going to be gathering, any upcoming events, any cancellations, whatnot. And speaking of cancellations, we will not be gathering next Sunday night. But don't get too sad, because we're going to be meeting on Tuesday instead. So next Tuesday night, we will be gathering here at 8 o'clock, so an hour later. And then the following week is Easter Sunday, so we won't be gathering again. However, the Vineyard is having Easter services, one on Saturday night at 5:30, and then 2 on Sunday morning at 9:30 and 11:15. So if you're interested to going to Easter Sunday church, you can go to vineyardwheeling.com, and you have to register. And they're filling up fast, so go over to the website and register. Follow us on social media, also at theway.movement on Instagram, and then we're on Facebook, and also YouTube, where we stream live. So howdy if you're watching live right now. We'll be posting updates, reminding you about the cancellations, just in case you do forget, which I tend to do so. Allie. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have called you out. I'm so sorry. Okay, so tonight, like I said, we have this week and then next Tuesday left of this series, 7 Deadly Sins. And tonight we're talking about greed. So it's going to be a fun one. But please welcome Myron.
Who's excited about spring? Yeah. Nope, like two people. It's 65 outside and sunny. Love it. I'm getting that vitamin D. Look out, man. It's going to be great. My whole mood changes. Well, hey, welcome. My name is Myron. Excited you're here. We're in the conversation around the 7 deadly sins. And just so we can get a quick recap, these 7 deadly sins are not in Scripture verbatim. Like, there's not a list that you will find in the Bible, in the Word of God. But what these 7 sins are is basically, over time, through the history and the development of the church, and theologians and really smart scholars read the Scriptures and looked at the teachings of Jesus and really kind of boiled everything down, all the sin, all the evil in our world, to these kind of 7 key words, or these 7 key sins. And we can really kind of dive in and understand that, yeah, every other sin, every other evil that exists in the world is probably rooted back in one of these 7. And if you've been really honest with yourself over the series, there's been a couple that have just really gut punched you. A few that you've really realized, like, oh my gosh, I didn't realize that this was crippling my life or had some control over me, or it was something that I really struggled with. And that's why these 7 are so good, because it's really going to give us something tangible to wrestle with to the ground of what sin is. And so tonight, we've talked about pride and jealousy, comparison. We talked about lust. Tonight, we're talking about greed. And you might be thinking, Myron, I'm not greedy at all. I'm a broke college student. Or like, I just got out on my own and got an apartment, a job. I'm poor. What do you mean greedy? I got no money. But here's the thing. Greed just isn't about money. And I think if you be really honest with yourself, there are ways in which greed is controlling our life. And I didn't think I was greedy until I really had to prepare this message and think about, man, where does greed actually pop up in my life? And here's where it pops up. Here's the most tangible example, okay? You guys know what a stimulus check is? Some of y'all might have got it. Sorry if you're in college, claims dependent, probably didn't get it. But here's what happened. In the pandemic, tough financial times, the government started writing checks to help people get by with some financial assistance and a stimulus check. Now, my wife Emily and I are blessed to be able to continue to work, and our income really hasn't changed at all, so we really didn't need, per se, the stimulus. Now, it's a great thing. People who need it and benefited from it, absolutely. But for us, we didn't really need it. So you know what happened when the stimulus checks hit our bank account? You know what goes through my brain? I'm going to give it all away. Heck no. Like, why would, that's not my gut. That's not my natural gut. I'm like, yeah, we could do this. Let's go to the Bahamas. Like, let's spend this on ourselves. Let's do this thing where I can spend it on myself because it's extra. It's this excess that we weren't planning on having that we now have. And the immediate thing that I thought about, and then I'm sure Emily thought about it too, is, man, what can we do with this money for ourselves? And I realized that's greed. When we make everything about us, we make everything about us and make nothing about others. That's what greed is. It makes everything about you and not about others. Greed is simply this. It's simply never being satisfied with what you have. Greed is simply never being satisfied or content with what you have. There's always something more than I need. Another pair of shoes, another purse, another accessory, another video game, another accreditation, or another certification, another accolade, another degree. There's always something out there, and greed will pull at your heart and say, that's not enough. Whatever you have is not enough. And the reason that greed is so hard is because it kind of disguises itself. It's not just money, it kind of disguises itself. And we use phrases like this to justify the greed in our life. We might think, I'm just being resourceful. I'm being really smart with my money. I'm like being really, really resourceful with my time and my energy and my emotions. I'm being really resourceful. Another one might be, I deserve this. I deserve this. You don't know how many hours I've spent studying. I deserve this. You have no idea how many hours I put in the gym. I deserve the starting position. Or you know how many hours and reps and sacrifices I've made. I earn this. I deserve this. And you might be thinking, I work hard, I got to buy a house one day, maybe you start a family, and I gotta hoard up everything that I can now. And I work 2 or 3 jobs and stress myself the heck out because I think that's what I need to do. Greed. You're not satisfied with what you have. And here's the one that gut punches me the most, is I make this statement all the time. If I had more, I could do more. Right? So, man, if I just work that overtime, or if I just get that bonus, or if I just do this and I had more, well, then I could give away more. I could do more. And I tell you what, every time I drive by the Mega Millions and I see it like way up there, like 300 million, I'm like, God, come on, bro. Like, let me just have that. I'll give it all away. And I say that, but in reality, if I would actually hit the lottery, I'd be like, yeah, party. What are we going to do, man? Let's buy a yacht or something stupid, right? Like it would tug at my heart. I would be greedy in the instinct, and that's in my gut. That's in our nature. I think it's in all of our natures. If I had more, I could do more. And that justifies maybe why I act greedy and try to seek things out for myself and never be satisfied with what I'm given. And now, those things aren't bad. Saving money isn't bad. Putting money away in a retirement fund or a savings account, yeah, you should absolutely do that. These are good things. But it's the motivation behind it, and that our identity becomes, I need the next thing, the next success, the next accolade, the next accomplishment, the next thing, and nothing will ever satisfy. So before we get started tonight, I want you to think about in your life, if you're not convinced that you're greedy, but there's somewhere in your life to where greed will determine or dictate your life a little bit. And you might be thinking, you know what? That's not me. But here's the reality. We all want to be comfortable, and we all want to be secure and safe. And so greed will tell you, I got to do more, get enough stuff, enough possessions, enough money, enough success to where I feel safe. And here's the reality. It is a road that you will never be able to get to the end of. I know people who are broke who think that they just need more. They need more. They need more. I know millionaires who need more, who need more, who need more. Like once you reach some level of success or bank account number, there's always more. It's a path. It's a never-ending road. And here's the reality: is when we do this, when we engage in this way or have this mindset, and greed kind of runs our life, it leads to more anxiety, it leads to more worry, it leads to more frustration and exhaustion, and you're maxed and you're stressed and you're overwhelmed. because you think everything depends on you. Everything depends on you. Your worth is dependent upon you and what you can do. And there's always something out there next for you that you will never be able to satisfy. So tonight I want to go through the book of Luke chapter 12. There's going to be a story. So if you got a Bible, you want to pull it out, you can. The text will be up on the screen. And here's what I want to do. I want to look at the difference between what greed says and what God says. Okay? What greed says in our life and then what God says about it. And then I want to read Luke 12. Here we go, verse 13. Someone in the crowd said to him, "Teacher, tell my brother to divide the inheritance with me." Quick historical context. The firstborn always got the inheritance. So I'm sure this was a little bro. He was like, "Yo, teacher, Jesus, tell him my brother, he's got to share with me." And Jesus is like, "Hold up a second." Jesus replied, "Man, who appointed me judge or arbiter between you?" Then he said to them, "Watch out, be on guard against all kinds of greed. Life does not consist in an abundance of possessions." It's not about how much you gain in this world. And he told them this parable. Parable is just a fictional story. Jesus was a masterful storyteller. And he would use these parables, which are fictional stories, to tell an eternal truth. And it said this in the parable: "The ground of a certain rich man yielded an abundant harvest. He thought to himself, 'What shall I do? I have no place to store my crops.' Then he said, 'This is what I'll do. I'll tear down my barns and I'll build bigger ones. And there I will store my surplus grain. And I'll say to myself, you have plenty of grain laid up for many years. Take life easy, eat, drink, and be merry.' But God said to him, 'You fool, this very night your life will be demanded from you.'" He's going to die. "Then who will get what you have prepared for yourself? This is how it will be with whoever stores up things for themselves, but is not rich towards God." So here's what greed says in this. Greed says this: everything I have is for me. But God says everything you have is from him. And think about this, okay? You guys probably, as you were growing up and going through like high school and stuff, you acquired possessions. You acquired things that became yours. And then you move out of that and you go to a college dorm or a college apartment. Guess what? You're downsizing. That thing is small. College dorm room is tiny. You ain't taking everything you have with you. So what do you do with it? You put it in totes, store it in your parents' attic, or maybe you store it somewhere. Or what we do is we rent a storage unit and we pay somebody money to let our junk just sit in this little 40 by 20 by 20 box. And we pay money to do that because we store it and we think, oh, we need it. We need it. We don't give it away. We don't take it to people who might need it. We're like, no, I may need it someday. I'm going to put it here. I'm going to store it. You know what happens to those storage units most of the time? That's why there's a show called Storage Wars, because they get left there. Collect dust, they're rotting away, like you forget about it, you move on, and it just sits there, and they auction them off, and people get the junk. And so we think we got to hold on to it. We got to hold on to our excess or our surplus, the things that we don't need. Some of us maybe like showing off the extra. Like we got that great shoe collection, and I'm jealous because I like shoes, but you're like flaunting it, showing off, check out my shoe collection or my purse collection or all of my accessories that I have. And maybe you're a low-key hoarder. Like you wouldn't say you are, but your place is cluttered. And it's got a bunch of stuff that you don't even need, but you're just holding on to it for some reason, and you're a low-key hoarder. Maybe think about money. You're like, you know what? Money ain't a big deal for me, especially during COVID. I didn't have a job or all that, and school was crazy, and school's taking all my money, and I didn't get no stimulus check, and some of y'all salty about that, and I get it. But like you're thinking, I don't have money. Money's not a problem. Greed with money is not a problem for me right now. And Jesus would probably lean in and say, okay, well, hold up. You probably have Spotify. You probably got Apple Music maybe. You probably got Netflix. You probably got video game subscription. You probably got, eating out, once or twice a week. You probably get a Starbucks coffee, once or twice a week, maybe more than that if you're really addicted. Like there are things in your life to where Jesus would lean in and say, you got extra money. You do. You have enough. And you spend it in the ways in which you want to spend it. Maybe think about a time. Maybe like, I don't have surplus in my time because everyone's like, oh, I'm just so busy. I'm just too busy. Here's the reality, okay? You're only busy because you make yourself busy. You get to make time for the things that you want to make time for. And what happens is every time we get a little bit of free time, what do? Hashtag self-care. Oh, I need a mental day. I'm just going to do me, get away, don't text me, don't talk to me. And we just kind of isolate ourselves and say, I need some self-care. I'm going to take a mental health day when I have free time. Maybe your emotions. You hoard up your emotions, and you're like, you know what? This is really tricky, and they're my emotions, and I don't want to give them away because then someone's going to really manipulate them and hurt them. I'm just going to isolate and be like, a loner and kind of to myself. I'm not really going to let anybody see the real me because you don't want to share open and be vulnerable with your emotions. And here's the reality about all those things. We protect those things, don't we? We hoard those, we protect those things, and we store them away in our excess for ourselves in a way in which exactly the man who had this surplus of crop was saying, hey, I need a place to store my excess for myself. And here's the reality. Our excess usually never involves someone else, right? It never involves someone else. Usually our excess is revolved around us. What can I do for myself? How can I treat myself? You know? How can I do something for me because I earn it, because I deserve it, because I worked hard for it, and because I feel entitled to that? And hear me out. Apple Music, Spotify, Starbucks, Netflix, none of those are bad. Maybe Netflix is bad, but video games, clothes, money, shoes, they're not bad. God gave us all those things. They're good things. And we need some of those things, absolutely. But it's the motivation behind why we need them and why we feel like we have to succeed or strive to acquire them. And that's how we will feel satisfied and good about ourselves and hoarding up for ourselves. And if we get really honest, we think everything that we have is ours. We think that everything that we have is ours. I put in the work. I made the effort. I should receive the benefits of my labor. Mine, 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 mine. And in the verse here, 16, the ground of a certain rich man yielded an abundant harvest. He thought to himself, what shall I do? I have no place to store my crops. He thought to himself in isolation. He said, what shall I do? He didn't ask God, hey, God, what should we do? He said, what shall I do? He didn't ask his wife if he was married, which is a bad move. He didn't ask her. He didn't invite his friends in to say, hey, wise counsel, what do you think I should do with this? By himself, what shall I do? He made a decision for himself, only concerning himself. What shall I do? And he said, my crops, my crops, my crops. Think about it. Back in that time, they were an agrarian society. They didn't have farming equipment. They didn't have the technology to predict the weather. They didn't have the technology to till the soil and actually fertilize the soil to make it really rich in nutrients so that a crop would do well. What were they dependent upon back then? Sun and rain. And that the soil would naturally have good nutrients. And they could do some things, but they didn't have the technology we have today. And who's in control of the sun? And who's in control of the rain? And who's in control of the soil nutrients? God. And so this guy's got the audacity and the pride to say, nah, that's mine, I did that. Bro, you planted seeds, that's all you did. You dropped a little bit of tiny things in a row, covered it up, and said, I hope it rains, I hope the sun shines, I hope this actually works. God was in control of that, and we do the same thing. We think everything that we have is because we acquired it or we earned it. When really everything on this earth, everything in this life is a gift from him. The fact that you exist and have breath in your lungs is a gift from him. The way you're wired, the way that you're wired with the personality that you have, with the work ethic and the drive and the commitment and the skills is because he wired that into you. He birthed you into a family in America, and you're at this place, at this school, at this time for a reason. It was a part of his plan and his design. It wasn't by accident. It wasn't because of you. You weren't in control. He was. He's in control of those things. And so greed will make us think like this man. Mine, 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 mine. You see, greed robs us of seeing it through the lens of a gracious God, a good heavenly Father who loves you and wants the best for your life. And he knows you better than you know yourself. Think about a toddler. So I have a toddler. I got a 3-year-old and I got an 18-month-old. And wow, it's fun. I love it. But here's the reality, okay? You give them toys, and eventually they learn that's my truck or that's my toy, and you try to tell them to share it. What do? No, mine. No, please give it to your sister. No, mine. And they like rip it from them. Mine, 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 mine. And here's the reality. That kid did nothing to earn that, did he? It was a gift from his parents. They worked overtime, got the Christmas presents, put them under the tree, gave these good gifts to their kids, and then the kid realizes it's mine and says that it's mine when really it's not even theirs. They didn't work for it. They didn't earn it. It was a gift. And we do the same thing with God all the time. And what we achieve, the success that we get, the intellect and the knowledge that we have, the skills and the abilities he's blessed us with, we go, those are mine. I did that. I put in the effort. You don't know what I did to get here. And I would say you're treating him just like a toddler treats his parents who gives him good gifts. Everything we have, every good thing that we have comes from God. But greed wants to make it all about you. I studied every Friday and Saturday night while everybody else was out partying and having a good time. I'm going to go the extra 2 years for the master's degree. I'm going to go the extra 4 years for the PhD. Me. I'm going to be the first person to come out of my family with a 4-year degree, come out of a podunk town, from a podunk family, and I'm going to break the curse. I'm going to make something of myself. I'm going to do it. Me. And we think it's all about us. My crops, my harvest, my excess, my paycheck, my accolades, my success. It's all about us. And you know what's really crazy about this? When we succeed, when we have good things, we are so quick to take the credit for it. I did that. But think about the opposite. When things go bad and a storm comes and a trial comes, what do? God, why are you doing this to me? It's your fault. We blame him. So we want to take credit for the good, but when the bad happens, we don't want any part of that. That's not me. I didn't do that. We don't want to accept the responsibility of the bad things that happen. We want to say, God, it's your fault. And then we like to have control when things are going well, but when things are going bad, we're like, God, you got to take this. You got to do it. Only you can do it. I want to trust you in this moment. We want to trust him with the bad, but we don't want to trust him with the good. We don't want to say thank you for the good and honor him with the good. We want to take credit, and that's greed in our life where we need something more to satisfy and think that we did it and earned it on ourselves. It's crazy. And I don't care how bad your life is. I don't care how good your life is. Greed is present in our life some way, shape, or form. Everything that you have, and we have a lot, people. We have so much excess here in America. Incredible amount of excess. And so God's asking us to fight against the greed of feeling like we got to get more and more and more and more and more. Second thing that greed says is this. Greed says trust in yourself, but God says trust in him. Greed says trust in yourself, God says trust in him. Luke 12:22 says, then Jesus said to his disciples, therefore I tell you, do not worry about your life, what you will eat, or about your body, what you will wear. For life is more than food and the body more than clothes. Consider the ravens. They do not sow or reap. They have no storeroom or barn, yet God feeds them. And how much more valuable you are than birds. Who of you, by worrying, can add a single hour to your life? Since you cannot do this very little thing, why do you worry about the rest? Consider the wildflowers, how they grow. They do not labor or spin. Yet I tell you, not even Solomon in all his splendor, Solomon was a really smart dude, king, dressed to the nines, really rich, is not dressed like the fields. He's not even compared to the beauty of the wildflowers growing. If that is how God clothes the grass of the field, which is here today and tomorrow is thrown into the fire, how much more will he clothe you, you of little faith? And do not set your heart, I want you to remember that, on what you will eat or drink. Do not worry about it, for the pagan world runs after such things, and your Father knows that you need them. But seek, I want you to remember that. Do not set your heart, but seek his kingdom, and these things will be given to you as well. Here's the powerful thing in this. Here's the problem when we feel like we have to earn everything. When we feel like we have to achieve and get the next thing on our own, and that's how we found our purpose and our identity and our success in this life. I need to work more. I need to make more money. I got to provide for myself. I got to get comfortable, and let's get real. We worship comfort. We hate being uncomfortable. We hate it. I want to be safe. I want it to be secure. And if I could just get my bank account to here, I'd feel good. Well, let's face it, when you get to there, you're still not going to feel good. Or if I do this and get this degree and this job and I get married and have a house and have kids, and there's all this pressure and stress and worry and anxiety around it all, and none of that was designed to satisfy you. You were never designed to satisfy. Nothing in this life was meant to satisfy you. Only God was. Because you were made by him in his image, and there's a reflection of you in the great creator. And he says, I want to be in relationship with you, and that's what will truly satisfy you. But greed says, I got to get the next thing. I got to get the next thing. There's no end. You're not in control of your joy. God is. He knows you better than you know yourself. Think about the birds he said, like, the birds don't build barns to store up grain. They're not like getting a woodpecker, pecking a hole, shoving a bunch of food in his tree. It's not what they're doing. God takes care of his creation. We see it all around us. The beauty and the splendor, the ecosystems that exist. And he wants to do the same thing for you because you are his most valuable creation on earth. How much more valuable are you than the birds, that he provides everything that they need. And here's the reality, another thing, you might think you know what you need, but he knows what you really need. And so you might be pursuing your needs and trying to gratify and satisfy your needs when really you might be missing the mark. And we have such a finite view of our life, and he's got the whole picture. So who are we going to trust? Are we going to trust him? Our greed would say, trust yourself. You do you work more, you obtain, you succeed, and I'll be set. You get more control. If you just had more control and all of that, I would be good. But here's the thing. If you get more control, it just brings more worry, doesn't it? It brings more stress. It brings more anxiety. And he says, how can you can't add hours to your life when you worry, so worrying is worthless. Worrying is actually really idiotic of us if we think about it. If we really trust in God and believe in him and put our faith in him, for us to worry is idiotic, to be honest. It's never going to do anything beneficial for your life. It's only going to take away from your life. And he wants to love you. He wants to bless you. He wants to provide for you if you will just trust him. But greed says you have to do it. You have to trust in yourself. And here's the thing. We think greed is rooted in selfishness. Like I'm trying to do what I want for me, but I think greed is rooted in fear. Fear that God isn't good. Fear that God isn't going to come through on his promises of taking care of me and meeting everything that I have need of and providing. We think, God, you're just not good enough. I don't believe you. I don't trust you. And greed is in fear, saying, I have to do it on my own. And so fight the fear and don't worry and trust him, not yourself, not your gut, not your human desires. So how do we fight greed? How do we fight it? I think the antidote to greed is generosity. And that's what the final point is here. Greed says life is about what you can get, but God says life is about what you can give. It's not about what you can get. That's what greed would say. But God is saying life is about what you can give. Verse 32, it goes on. Do not be afraid, little flock, for your Father has been pleased to give you the kingdom. Sell your possessions and give to the poor. Provide purses for yourself that will not wear out, a treasure in heaven that will never fail, where no thief comes near and no moth destroys. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. You remember how I said, set your heart? Do not set your heart on the things of this earth. Because wherever your heart is, there your treasure will be also. But seek first his kingdom, and everything that you need, that God knows that you need, will be provided to you. You don't have to stress and worry and be anxious and fearful about your life. He will provide. He's a good God. He can be trustworthy. And when we give our life away, Jesus says you will find it. Because what does it profit a man to gain the whole world but forfeit his soul? And so if you give your life away, give control away, trust in the good Heavenly Father that created you and knows you better than you, that's where you'll find life, and life to the full. That's the promise. So, 401k, retirement, retiring early, traveling the world with your wife or your husband, that's the dream, right? And there's nothing wrong with that, but if that is the motivation behind your entire existence, you fool, is what Jesus would probably say to you. Because you don't know about tomorrow. We're never guaranteed tomorrow. And so we can work our tails off and our butts off to try to succeed and accolades and money and stuff and materialism and seek comfort and wealth and pleasure in this life. But guess what? You may not be guaranteed tomorrow. So what does it benefit you to do all that work? Nothing. It's worthless. And so I think generosity is how we fight greed. And so how do we store up in heaven? How do we store up in heaven? How do we fight greed with generosity? And how do we store up this treasure in heaven? Here's what we do. We give our money away. We give our time away. We give our energy away. We give our emotions away. We connect with people on real levels. We serve others. We focus on others before ourselves. That is how we are generous. I think there's two types of generosity in this life. One is responsive generosity. When there's a need and like a GoFundMe and it's a really compelling story, man, I feel like all Christians are like, yeah, I'll give. I'll support that. And we classify that as generosity. Or I see the guy down here at Perkins, right? And I'll give him a little bit of money and I think, yeah, I'm generous. I'm a good person. I'm a generous person, okay? That's good. Responsive generosity. We should do that, absolutely. But I think the second type of generosity that should mark your life as a Jesus follower is predetermined generosity, where you have pre-decided that I am going to love and serve people with my time, my money, my talents, my gifts, my personality, my strengths, the way God's wired me, because I am realizing that I am not my own. Everything I have is a gift from him, and I should leverage it to serve and love and bless other people, and you will see the shackles of greed fall off of you, and you won't be motivated by it anymore. And you know what the only thing is that gets into heaven? We talk about this treasure. What's the only thing getting into heaven? It ain't dogs. Bust your bubble. It's not dogs. What's the only thing getting into heaven? People. People. That's it. So what should we really invest in? People. It's the only thing that matters. That's the only thing that's ever going to make it in and live forever is people. And so we need to stop investing in things of this earth. Don't set your heart on the things of this earth, but set your heart on the things above eternity. And invest in people and leverage everything that you have at your disposal, everything God has given you. He's asking you to steward it, to invest in souls, to invest in people, and to love radically. And I think this, if we would live this way, a predetermined generosity, and if that marked this crew of people, the Way movement, people would be like, oh my gosh, you guys are like some of the best people on the face of the planet. I don't know what it is about you guys, but you guys are weird. Like, you just give all your stuff away. And it's incredible. How can I be a part of it? And if that marked us, look out, the Ohio Valley is going to be a different place. We're going to transform the very nature and culture of the Ohio Valley and make it an irresistible place that people want to settle down. But greed will creep up in our life, and I'll end with this story. You ever got money randomly? Again, stimulus check thing, right? But you ever just got money randomly that you weren't expecting to get? Here's what happened. So I talked to a friend of mine, and he's like, hey, I got a baseball team, 9 and 10-year-olds. And I played baseball at West Lib, and he's like, hey, would you come to a clinic or a camp for my team? And I was like, yeah. He's like, how much you want me to pay you? And I was like, you don't have to pay me anything. He's like, no, seriously, like, what's your rate? Or like, what's the common rate for like a camp like this? I was like, well, I mean, like, here's what I would probably charge, or like, here's what people would probably charge. But again, bro, like, I don't want your money. I'm going to come and just be generous. I want to serve you and your team and the kids. And I show up and I run the camp for 2 days, 4 hours, 2 hours a day. And at the end of it, he hands me an envelope, and it was $200 cash. And I was like, let's go buy some shoes, right? Got $200 I didn't have. It's a lot of money. And as I'm prepping this message, I'm like, Myron, you idiot. Like, this is an excess. You don't need this. God, what do you want me to do with it? This isn't my crop. This isn't my gain. This isn't my excess. I didn't do anything to deserve this. And so I said, God, what do you want me to do with it? And of course, he said, keep it. No, he said, give it away. Give it away. Use it to bless somebody who needs it. And I don't know what that looks like. I still got the money. I'm waiting. But I'm going to give it away. I'm going to break the shackles of greed. When I have excess, I'm going to invest it in people. I'm going to give it away. And it's going to change people's lives. It really will. It'll matter. It'll make a difference. And so this tension point too is like, man, why am I so stingy with $200 that I got extra? Why am I so stingy with it? When I am accepting the most incredible act of generosity the world has ever seen, which was God sending his son Jesus to die in my place on a cross where I deserved to hang. He took my place. That's an incredible sacrifice and generous thing. And so if I'm claiming to accept that and then I'm being stingy with $200, man, that's like spitting on Jesus as he's hanging there. And I don't want that in my life. I hate it. I hate all these sins. I hate that all of them wreck me and go, dang it, Myron, yeah, that's in you, that's in you, that's in you, that's in you, and I hate it. But together, committed, we can live better, more surrendered, devoted, free of sin, glorifying him, and changing the world from Wheeling, West Virginia. I believe it, if we'll commit to it, and we'll live the life he's called us to. Band, come up. We're going to sing a couple songs, and I want us to really reflect in this time of worship. God, break the chains of sin in my life. Show me, highlight, illuminate, and teach me and show me where I can be more generous with my excess, because you have plenty. You have a surplus. I know you do. Give your time away. Give your energy away. Give your emotions away. Give your money away. Love love people radically with everything God has given you. Let me pray. Jesus, I thank you that you did die on that cross, the most gracious thing that you could ever do for me and for all of us. And I pray that we would make that decision to accept that gift, and in return, we would break the chains of greed in our life and live so open-handed with everything that you've given us. We wouldn't have a fist and be like a toddler and say, mine, 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 but we would say, God, what do you want me to do with it? Show me, lead me, teach me to be more like you, to love and serve, and be incredibly generous with all that you've given me. And I pray you would meet me in that, and you would honor me in that, and you'd bless me in that. And I would just become everything you created me to be, and show me your plan and your purpose. And I pray in Jesus' name. Amen.
We're going to sing a few more songs. You can stand and sing with us if you'd like, but I just encourage you to sit and digest what Myron said and digest the songs. I've carried a burden for too long on my own. I wasn't created to bear it alone. I hear your invitation to let it all go. I see it now, I'm laying it down, and I know that I need you. I run to the Father, I fall into grace. I'm done with the hiding, no reason to wait. My heart needs a surgeon, my soul needs a friend, so I run to the Father again and again and again and again. Oh, oh, oh. You saw my condition, had a plan from the start. Your son for redemption, the price for my heart. And I don't have a context for that kind of love. I don't understand, I can't comprehend. All I know is I need you. I run to the Father, I fall into grace. I'm done with the hiding, no reason to wait. My heart needs a surgeon, my soul needs a friend, so I run to the Father again and again and again and again. Oh, oh, again and again and again and again. Oh, oh, my heart has been in your sights long before my first breath. Running into your arms is running to life from death. And I feel this rush deep in my chest. Your mercy is calling out, just as I am. You pull me in, and I know I need you now. I run to the Father, I fall into grace. Done with the high.
just want to sit here at your feet. I'm caught up in this holy moment. I never want to leave. Oh, I'm not here for blessings. Jesus, you don't owe me anything. And more than anything that you can do, I just want you. I'm sorry when I've just gone through the motions. I'm sorry when I just sang another song. Take me back to where we started. I open up my heart to you. I'm sorry when I've come with my agenda. I'm sorry when I forgot that you're enough. Take me back to where we started. I open up my heart to you. Caught up in your presence, I just wanna sit here. I'm caught up in this holy moment. Never wanna leave. Oh, I'm not here for blessings. Jesus, you don't owe me anything. And more than anything that you can do, I just want you. I just want you. Nothing else. Nothing else. I just want you. Nothing else. Nothing else. Nothing else will do. I just want you. Nothing else. Nothing else. Nothing else will do. I just want you. Nothing else. Nothing else. Nothing else will do. I just want you. Nothing else. Nothing else. Nothing else will do. I just want you. Nothing else. Nothing else, Jesus. Nothing else will do. Come back to where we started. Come back to where we started. When I first felt your love, you're all that matters, Jesus. You're all that matters. Yeah. Just your heart, Jesus. Just your heart. I'm caught up in your presence. I just wanna sit here at your feet. I'm caught up in this holy moment. I never wanna leave. No, I'm not here for blessings. 'Cause Jesus, you don't owe me anything, but more than anything that you can do, oh, I just want you. And so, guys, the building doesn't close down. We're going to hang out, and I would just encourage you, search for where you're greedy in your life, and talk about it, and have good conversations, and build relationships while you're here. So enjoy and stay as long as you want.
Higher than any thought could go. You go beyond your thoughts, reaching heights unknown. Better than all, better than what I think I know. You show the way, leading me to the life you hold.